We've often contemplated on Bob Iger's famous words of how he's going to quiet the noise at the Disney company with so many strange things happening in children's content, specifically preschool content, over on Disney Channel, Disney Junior, Disney XD, and Disney Plus. Well, now it seems we're seeing some movement because an episode of Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur has been yanked from the Disney television animation release schedule and may never see the light of day, except that we got a copy. And we're going to talk about what was in this episode that Disney felt was too spicy for children's television, perhaps for adults either. Let's talk about that on That Park Place. We don't usually cover that spicy of topics here on this channel, but I trust Vash, and I think I will actually be in greater danger of saying something that shouldn't be said here. But we need to talk about the changes that are apparently coming to Disney television animation. This is the department, by the way, that video talking about the not so secret agenda. That was about Disney television animation, and people involved in this show very specifically talked for very long periods of time about putting representation everywhere, not just in the background, but also in the forefront. Well, we're now here in 2024 seeing some of the fruits of that labor here. No pun intended, but there is one there. Disney refuses to release Marvel episode with controversial message. Rogue Vigilante uploads it to YouTube anyway. I think it's been taken down since then. But Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, I watched the episode. I maybe obtained a copy somehow of the episode in order for me to view it remotely. And no, we don't do remote viewing here to try to get our sources here. But let's read the story from WDW Pro. The Walt Disney Company and Marvel appear to be ready to continue moderating their content back towards a more mainstream middle approach. That means preventing the release of a children's cartoon episode that veers into very partisan territory. Partisan is I'm going to say a light word for what this goes into. The Disney Plus show Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, produced by Marvel Entertainment, will not air a story called Gatekeeper that featured heavy-handed storytelling that's about girls' sports and who should be able to play in them. You guys understand where we're going here without hearing the specific words? I appreciate the mods in the chat, by the way. In the episode, which has been canceled from ever appearing, a young person wishes to play in a sporting event with girls, but controversy erupts over real-world issues our society is debating in a heated way. The Disney show takes a definitive side in the debate, essentially siding with the idea that those who oppose traditional boundaries for who can play in girls' sports are villainous. In fact, in the episode, the character attempting to maintain the more traditional concept of girls' sport rosters just so happens to be a supervillain. It's a battle over identity and what the boundaries are, and the episode decidedly presents a very binary choice of right versus wrong, good versus evil for children over a topic that many families vehemently disagree upon. This is, Vash, have you seen this episode?
I haven't seen the entire episode in length. I have seen the most egregious parts, however.
Yeah. I think you probably have. I didn't check to see what's already out there after I watched the episode, but Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur is a show that has been woke from the very beginning. It's there are some things that are on the lighter side that are not offensive in any way. It's a very diverse section of, I want to say, the Lower East Side of Manhattan. Not woke in and of itself, but there are a lot of soft things that go on that if you see it, you don't want to jump at shadows, but you start to notice that there are, in fact, no white people, depending on how you view Jewish people, but they look to be Orthodox Jewish people in the neighborhood. And the only white people, all of the supervillains on the show are white or white people for the most part, other than the Beyonder shows up, voiced by Lawrence Fishburne. And I have talked about this show at length on the Everything Woke series. There's 2 episodes. It sounds like there's going to be more of them. Eventually, I had to give up and move on from it, but maybe I need to go back to it. In one episode of the show, the person that they're talking about in this, who plays girls sports in this show. By the way, it's middle school. I need to provide that context here. We are talking about 13 is the oldest age that we would be talking about here. uh, there is a group of people on the girls' volleyball team that identify as many different things. And in one of the episodes that I reviewed, it was about a sleepover in which Lunella, who I think is well, also middle school, but I think it's her first year in middle school, is invited to a sleepover at the house of this character named Brooklyn, who is voiced by India Moore, who identifies as many things, they, them, all those kind of extra pronouns. Again, I'm being a little bit vague here to try to stay in the good graces of our platform here and don't to get removed from it. Other members of the team are also identify as unusual things, non-traditional things. However, Lunella ends up in a situation where she's at the sleepover, and there is something that I can only describe as flirting going on from Brooklyn's character towards Lunella. So I'm going to say, I'm going to go further out on that limb and say it's more of a co-ed sleepover in which there's flirting going on here between middle school characters at a sleepover that's not being supervised by adults. This is how far I thought they went. There's also, by the way, a computer at some point that shows up and identifies as non-binary, which, you know, I know there's some levels of computer programming where that's not a thing, but I don't know how a non-binary computer that uses they, them pronouns would work. What I'm trying to say is this is a show that Disney has put on Disney Channel, but they market this show to preschoolers as well, because everything on Disney Channel and below, that being Disney XD and Disney Junior, is marketed to preschoolers. In this episode, they get explicit with it. There's no, hey, I think this person might identify that way. They put the sticker on Brooklyn's bottle front and center, and she says, no, I am this. I used to be this. I'm now this. And they keep putting up these gates in order to stop me. And no matter how many of these gates that we bust through, they're still moving the goals for us. So I'm going to say this is super, super political. This is super heavy-handed. This isn't like an episode of Sesame Street where they're like, you need to stop littering. We should all clean up because, and they'll mention something about the climate. Doesn't bother me so much. I watched Captain Planet back in the day. Didn't really bother me back in the day. This is so heavy-handed. The person, of course, she's a white lady. She gets up in people's business. Everyone there who is quote unquote a good guy, which is everyone except for this supervillain, does not see the problem with it. And it goes back to that Chris Evans quote about people being dinosaurs. It's the entire point of the episode is to try to say that if you don't want someone who was playing on the boys team a few years ago to play on the girls team, no matter biological differences, no matter incredible differences in strength and testosterone levels, then you are the problem. Vash, you have anything you want to throw in here?
Oh, literal gatekeeping. Looks like they imbued a Karen type character into this episode. This is a show based off of a Marvel comic, like you said, marketed towards preschoolers or young adults, and we're featuring themes and topics that are way above the age range for sure, but propagandizing as we are doing it. This is why I use the term egregious before. Usually I use the term noteworthy or something more general, but this is an appalling showing for what was a family entertainment company, or at least supposed to be.
Yeah,
this is just absolutely ridiculous. I remember when Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur made their appearances in the parks, and I thought, wow, that's really something. This company's definitely changing. But boy, oh boy, to get here, Jonas, do you think this episode was pulled because of these specific reasons, and maybe that reflects maybe a changing?
Yeah, to try to move on with the story, which is, I appreciate you pushing us in that direction. So this is a show that has already been canceled. I think there's another. There might be another season of what is it, Proud Family, which I originally thought that Proud Family was the wokest thing that Disney would ever come up with. I'm not so sure in this case, but here we go. Yet in a twist from Disney and a break from their recent history. They're pulling the plug on controversial content. It's not the first time we're seeing Disney change their ways over the last week. While a former writer for Marvel is losing their mind over the election, almost nobody in Marvel proper has publicly gone for such a tirade. Here's a tweet from our good friend, John Trent, who's now over there at Fandom Pulse. We wish him well over there. Here's Captain Marvel writer Kelly Sue DeConnick breaking down after Trump's win. A rundown of the episode by Polygon gives us a pretty good idea of why Marvel might be keen to keep the episode off air and keep their employees quiet about it as well. Keeping in mind that this episode was pulled and somebody forced it to see the light of day because they don't understand that things don't work how they used to in 2020. Early in the episode, the Gatekeeper, Brooklyn, recalls her time spent playing soccer and the darkness of me having to play on the boys' team. Brooklyn's comments about her athletic past are overheard by the opposing team's coach, Greer, played by Amy Sedaris, who tries to have the teenager disqualified from the game. But Brooklyn's coach, gym teacher Herbick, tells Greer Brooklyn is a girl and she's going to play. The episode then veers into supervillain territory as Greer uses a magical key to confine Brooklyn, her teammates, and water girl Lunella into the girls' locker room. There's also, it's an escape room. And once they get out of the escape room, they just end up in, it's supposed to be this moment of triumph, but they end up in another escape room. So they're putting symbolism here to try to say, well, they're moving the goalposts over and over and over again, as opposed to arguing with the original problem that most people would have with something like this. Though Disney has worked hard to keep things quiet and keep employees behaving well, it's not gone in an entirely smooth fashion. On Friday, November 15th, someone went rogue and uploaded the entire unaired, canceled episode onto YouTube. It's since been removed. The show itself is also wrapping up its final episodes, not being greenlit for a third season. This, by the way, is Lunella's friend here. She is half Latina, half Jewish. She describes herself as that. I don't know why, but they really like that particular combination. I think it's because of the religious aspect of it. I know, obviously, ethnically Jewish is not the same as Orthodox Jewish, but for some reason, it's the same thing in a few episodes of the Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, where the gay couple is also they're half black, half Jewish. So this comes up quite a bit for some reason. Let us know your thoughts on the sudden moderation effort. So this is my question here. This is the kind of thing that in 2020 Disney would have just put that out, and they would have been very proud to put that out. Obviously, the Lightyear situation, they added the kiss back into Lightyear. The movie was woke, whether or not it had a kiss in it, but at least the kiss made people aware of the changes that were being made. We obviously have heard about Inside Out 2 and the efforts that were being made to try to make that film be as there's a good use of the word heteronormative as possible. Riley and whatever was going on between her and I can't even remember that. Maybe her name was Val, the red-haired girl who is, I'm going to say, also early teens, maybe a couple of piercings. That there's some kind of fascination going on there between Riley and that character. Whatever ended up in the final product read straight as an arrow. And strictly friendship based, but we of course keep hearing rumors that it was a lot more inclusive than it used to be. So, Vash, do you think the company is starting afresh here? Are they trying to undo some of the cultural boundaries that they've been pushing over the last few years?
Either they're trying to moderate, or even for them, this might have gone too far. It's one or the other. And I don't know, perhaps there is a little bit of a self-reflection there. Perhaps they understand the urgency of the moment when it comes to attempting to get people on Disney Plus as subscribers, or maybe at that precious ad tier. We know those AVOD numbers. Sorry, Bob, do apologize about that. They need customers. They need people generating revenue for them. So perhaps it is an attempt to moderate for those specific reasons, which I think would be a good thing. There's been a lot of talk of Disney being political in the media, both left and right, by the way. This isn't just something that is confined to one side of the political spectrum. So perhaps they are understanding the urgency of the moment and are looking to change. We'll have to see more evidence of that as time goes forward. Perhaps, maybe Snow White, a story we'll be also beginning to today, would be a reflection of that change, because we do know that that script and everything in it started out one way and perhaps could have shifted to another direction with the subsequent reshoots.
Yeah, when I look at something like this, I see a return to trying to make money and trying not to alienate the audience. Now, what would really serve them well, they've already deleted shows, and they deleted a bunch of other shows with it that were really bad. Willow, for instance, took a story that should have made money if it went to the box office and turned it into a gay teen romance. Lesbian teen romance, if I'm being more specific here. Or the Proud Family, a show that never would have flied if it was just being aired on Disney Channel. Standards and Practices would have had a problem with I don't know if I want to use all the words that I use over there on Everything Woke here, because that Park Place is essentially a theme park channel, but we report on Disney in general. And I don't want to change the classification on this channel. I do think that there's a purpose of that series, and maybe it needs to be rebooted in some way, perhaps as a Twitter account or something like that. But I see Disney backing away from this, and they've always been a left-leaning company. They've always been a left-leaning company. But if they at least know where their bread is buttered, maybe there's hope for them to fix this, and maybe the next CEO that comes in could actually fix this situation here. If they bring in the guy from EA, I have no hope for them whatsoever, of course.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.